What is the best budget MIDI interface that you can get in 2020? For me, the question was clearly answered when I got my Focusrite Scarlett 2i4. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you why. So I'm going to start with going over the specs of the Focusrite. So right off the box, you get the Focusrite together with a little orange USB cable. The Focusrite runs on phantom power, so that means that you do not have to connect it to an external power source. I'm going to start with the front. Right here you have your headphone jack with a dedicated volume knob. You have your big main volume knob, which feels really nice. Then right here you have the two inputs. You have two line inputs that you can switch to instrument inputs right here. So that means that if you, for example, plug in your keyboard with a line output, you put it on line. But if you plug in your guitar, which usually would go into an amp, you can put it on instrument. Now, both of these inputs also double as XLR inputs when you want to plug in your microphone to record a podcast or anything. They also have separate volume knobs, which is really nice to adjust the level, but you can also use them together if you want to record stereo audio. Now, right here, this one is a little knob to control the volume ratio of the direct playback of the Focusrite and your laptop. So that means that if you want to play along to a track that you made or to a track on Spotify, you can balance the volume nicely with this one. Now on the back, you have the USB plug, you have a Midi in and Midi out, you have two unbalanced line outputs and one balanced line output. Now the build quality of this thing is great. So you have solid aluminum top with a really nice color finish, otherwise hard plastic. All of the volume knobs feel really sturdy, really nicely, really solid. It also has a great form factor and just fits on your desk really nicely. The Focusrite is also really versatile, especially for beginners with the two inputs. You can either record two things at the same time, you can record in stereo, but you can also just use it to mess around. You can plug in your guitar, open up Guitar Rig or any other digital amplifier, and just start jamming. Now, in my day-to-day use, I never experience any problems with Focusrite. I use it for web browsing, I use it for multimedia consumption, making team calls, listening to music, and also just jamming on my piano without recording at all. So in conclusion, I can definitely recommend this one to any beginner or intermediate musician. It's great value for money. This one is about 180 to 190 euros, and the sound is absolutely sufficient for beginner and intermediate musicians. You do need a bit of additional equipment, which I'm going to go over really quick, and then I'm going to show you my setup. So you obviously need the cables to connect your instruments. I just have two standard line cables, which I use for the stereo output of my piano. Then I also have two XLR cables, line to XLR cables, which I use for my speakers. The USB cable is included, of course. And then I also have two MIDI cables, which I use to control the MIDI functions of my digital audio workstations with my keyboard. So this is my setup with the Focusrite. It's not going to win any awards for the cable management, but it does the job. And as you can see here, my piano is plugged in with the two line inputs. So I have the stereo sound, but I can easily exchange the line cables and plug it into my bass if need be. And then on the back of the Focusrite, I have my speakers connected to the balanced line output right here. I use two active speakers. Those are the PA105, I believe, from Thomann. And then as well the USB cable and the MIDI cable that goes into my MIDI out on the keyboard. So I can use it to, for example, control a drum pad or use a sampler.